while you may be months away, maybe even years away, we're going to tackle those 6 pre-retirement concerns that you may have. I know what's on your mind because it was on my mind. Let's jump right in. I'm Adrian from Adrian's Avenue, and I talk about things that are rich, relatable, and relevant that will help you make better decisions to a better life. Let's go ahead and tackle the biggest one up front. The number one thing of concern that I had, at least before my retirement, was saving for retirement. There are various avenues that we have, such as 401ks, IRAs, and any other kind of company-sponsored plan, maybe even a pension fund that your company may have set aside for you. But these are major concerns at the very beginning because you want to make sure you use everything that's available to you when you start to save for retirement. You have to kind of balance it out with what you have going on currently and putting money aside. The percentages, totally up to you. Some say 10%, some say 15%, some may even say 20%. That would normally depend on the lifestyle that you want when you actually retire from your job. But this is one of the major things that we all think about pre-retirement, whether it's a couple of years out or a couple of months out. We want to make sure we're using everything to our advantage so that we can have the money that we need when we do finally step out of that job and into retirement. Now, one of the major questions that you may have is, well, how much should I have saved for retirement? How much should I have in my 401k account? And Yahoo Finance has actually done a survey, and between the ages of 55 and 64, they are reporting that people have, on average Americans have about $254,000 saved in their 401k account. That's really not a lot. When you hit 65 and up, the average amount saved in the 401k is about $280,000 saved total in your 401k account. And when you think about spending that money over the many years that you may survive after you even retire, that may not be a lot of money. It is also reported that you should have about 10 times your salary saved by age 67 if you want to retire then. So if you're making about $80,000 a year, you should have $800,000 saved somewhere, 401k and other funds totally saved for your retirement. If you think about it, that may not be a lot of money, but it will depend on your lifestyle after savings. It will also depend on how much debt you have after savings, if your house is paid off. So it may work for you, it may not work for you. But in my mind, these numbers seem pretty small. So make sure you're saving all you can. The second question that may come up when you're saving is, what percentage should I be saving while I am working? And that percentage could range anywhere from 15% to 20%, but you have to look at the amount as it's accumulating over time. Make sure you take advantage of anything your company has as far as matching in your 401k. It's free money. If you put a certain amount in, they'll match it just automatically without you doing anything. Take that free money. But the percentages that you're putting in should be at least 15%. And go above that if you possibly can. You may have a savings account or some other kind of investment that will help you out during this time as far as saving for your retirement. But this is the number one concern, is how much should I save and how will I save for my retirement when those days come? Now, another concern I had as the years went by and I got closer to my retirement is trying to max out on my career advancements. I wanted to make as much money as I possibly could on my 9-to-5 to make sure, since I did have a pension fund, that I would get the maximum amount in my pension fund. So it was critical for me those last few years to make sure I was making the total maximum amount if it meant moving to another position, if it meant taking on new responsibilities, but doing the job that I needed to do to get the highest pay raises that I possibly could. Now, some of this is within your control. Some of it may not be in your control, But there are some things that you can do outside of it, because if you want to invest more in your retirement accounts or put aside more to meet the number that you want to meet before you walk out that door, you may want to get some type of side job, some type of side hustle, depend on your talents to bring extra money in. But these are the years that you want to look at to really punch it in, because as I often say, retirement is not an age, it is a number. And once you hit that certain number, you can feel free to retire, and retire with ease, retire without worry. So make sure you're focusing and concentrating on making the maximum amount you can. If you're in great health, go for it. Make what you can, because you're stacking money up that you can use when you finally walk out that door. Now let's talk about the number one topic that you probably don't want to hear about, and that is debt management. Whether you're retiring in a couple of years or in a couple of months, a couple of weeks, a couple of days, you need to make sure your debt is managed. It will help you in the long run. Believe me, once you retire, if you don't have a lot of debt on you, it'll just make the money that you have coming in easier to manage. What do I mean by debt management? If you have credit cards piled up to the wazoo, you need to start paying those off. If you have car payments, one or two in the household, because with whatever money you have coming in, that's the limited amount that you will have to continue to pay on these bills. And so this debt will not go away. Try to get as much debt paid off as you possibly can. If you can even pay off your house, that would be a great thing. Let's say if your house payment is about $2,000 a month. If you pay that off, there's $2,000 that you do not have to pay out each and every month while you're retired. What can you do with $2,000? I can think of a lot of things I can do with $2,000. If your car payment, the average car payment I hear these days is about $760 a month. $760 a month, you guys. That's quite a bit of money. But if you could pay that off, that's an extra $760 a month that you could have to spend at your own leisure. And let's say if your credit cards were about $300 a month that you're paying on that you need to pay off. Pay those off. If you add all those totals together, the $2,000, the $760, the $300, that's $3,000 extra that you would have, or $3,000 that you wouldn't have to pay every month that you're retired. You can stack that money aside or go on trips with it, do whatever you want to. So make life easier for you and start managing the debt before you get out. Now, the one thing that unfortunately I was not able to do is pay my house off. I had moved to a different house, and so I'm currently paying on that, but all my other bills are paid, and it just helps with the easy transition. I know that I have one bill that I have to pay every month, and that's the house note. So if you can't pay the house off before you retire, make sure you work that into your budget, because that will be a line item on your budget that you will still have to pay each and every month. But just think of the freedom that you will have if you don't have a whole ton of bills when you retire. You can do things you want to do the way you want to do it, fly first class, go where you want to go, out of the country, whatever you want to do. It's just a lot easier if you don't have a lot of bills on you. So debt management throughout your lifestyle, throughout life, even before you retire, but especially when you get ready to retire, pay as much off as you possibly can. You already know what I'm going to say. Hit that like button and that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on the latest information as it becomes available to you, and you can start making those better decisions for a better life. Now let's jump back into these top 6 concerns. I think we are on number 4, and that is in investment and wealth building. You want to make sure that you're doing things to build wealth. Ownership is the best way you can do as far as building wealth. So you want to own some things. You want to own maybe some mutual funds, some stocks, some index funds, some bonds, some rental property. You want to own some things. If you have a side business, you want to own the side business. So there are things you can do to build wealth, because putting your money in the local bank, even though the interest rates right now are pretty good as far as the online banks, you can get upwards of high 3s, 4.5%, maybe some 5s out there somewhere, but it's not making your money like you could be really making money if it was invested somewhere. So you want to build that wealth outside of what the company is doing, paying you, outside of your retirement accounts. you want to be building wealth in other places. And the stock market is a great place to do it. Real estate is another great place to do it. There are opportunities out there. If you go to my last video, we talked about things that you can do to build wealth and to invest in things and to own things. And this is what you want to focus on, because wouldn't it be great once you retire if you owned a piece of rental property that you had a monthly amount coming in every month to cover some of those bills that you may not have paid off before you retired. That's a great thing. Believe me, it's a good thing to do. So wealth building and investments is something that you seriously need to start thinking about before you retire. I would say do it a couple of years out, and as you grow closer to retirement, you can watch it and see how it's going, see how the money is growing for you, and it'll just make you feel a lot better and more secure when that day comes where you leave the job and step into freedom, the freedom of retirement. Estate planning is something that's serious, something that a lot of people really don't like to do, because you start talking about wills, you start talking about possibly your death and how you're going to leave items. But this is something that you need to do, and you need to do it as soon as possible. If it's a will, a simple will, a lot of the companies will help you with the will. Some of them have free services that you can get a will. But if they don't, check your local area for estate planning attorneys and let them write you up the things that you need, all the power of attorneys for, before you pass and then after you pass, so that you can still control your assets from the grave. Your wishes will be taken out even though you're not here to speak on it, because you have left a document for someone to follow, and they have to follow it according to the state law. If the will is left, if the trust is left, they have to follow it to the letter in order for your items to be distributed the way that you want them to be distributed. So estate planning will help with taxes after you die. You just need to know how things are going to be laid out. And the sooner you get this out of your way, it may be a little emotional going through, but once it's done, it's done. And just because you do estate planning, you all, doesn't mean that you're going to die. We're all going to die at some point in time, but it's best to do the things that we need to do before that time comes. Take the pressure and the stress off of your loved ones after you're gone. Go ahead and do the will. Just get it out the way, and make sure whoever else in your family needs wills, make sure that gets done. It's worth the investment to get it done. Now, from state to state, things are different. So in some states, it may be better to do a will. In some states, it may be better to do a trust as far as how the items will be passed on. And, if you do a will, it's going to have to go through probate. But some states charge you a lot more to go through probate than others will. And so make sure you check with your state and your attorney, your estate planning attorney. They know the ins and outs, and they can suggest what is best for you. But this is something that I would say, do it today. You don't have to be near retirement to do it. Get it taken care of, because we all have assets. Some of us think I don't have much to leave, but you do have more than what you think you have to leave. Some things are already taken care of, such as if you've assigned bank accounts and insurance policies to certain people. But there are some things that need to be decided by a will. And I know in my state, the state of Texas, if you do not do the will, the state will make those decisions for you. So your wishes may not be carried out the way you want them to. Especially if you have children, make sure you do the will and get all of that handled so that you can retire with ease. And when it's your time to leave this world, you will have all that taken care of. Now, this last one, number 6, to be honest, is something that we don't really talk about a lot and we don't really address a lot. But it's something that I knew that I went through, that I needed to address, and I needed to talk about. I needed to take the time to sit down and just discover some things about myself, my plans for my life, and how I wanted it to go. And it is the balance between what you're currently doing and your future goals. You have some short-term goals that you want to do before you leave that job, as well as long-term goals. And you don't want to get focused so much on the long-term that you miss living life. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. We talk about the future. We talk about certain things you need to do, but there is a balance that you can strike by living a good life now, as well as saving for the future. And this is something that you're going to have to take some time, sit down and decide what is important to you. not what's important to your friends, but what is important to you. And those are the things you want to focus on. You can strike this balance. You have a limited amount of money coming in, so you know how much you have to work with to strike this balance. And if there's some trips you want to take, some things that you want to do now, I would say don't stop living just to save for the future, but make sure that it's a combination of the two. When are you going to start putting, more money away for the future? What money are you going to use for right now? And this all happens, you all, in a budget. I cannot emphasize budget too much, and I cannot say it too often. And I don't want you to continue to fight a budget if you're fighting a budget. A budget is your friend. The bottom line is you're going to spend that money whether you write it down or not. You just don't know where it's going if you don't write it down. A budget is your friend. All it does is tell you where your money is going, where you're spending your money, so that when you get the $1,000, $1,500 a month, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month, and at the end of the month or near the end of the month, I don't know where my money went. Well, if you were on a budget, you would know where your money went. You would know to the dime where each piece of money went. And then you can assign your money marching orders also. So you'll be in total control of your money. A budget is your friend, and it will help you if you're trying to strike a balance between living now, because I want everyone to live a good life now. Don't waste life now planning on the future, because some people may not make it to the future. But if you can balance it out by living and doing the things you want to do now, as well as saving for the future and getting that ready, so when you do step outside the job, you'll have an easier time as far as the finances are concerned. There will be other things that you'll deal with, changes, as far as mental, physical changes. There may be some other stuff going on, but at least you'll have this up under control. So do the best job you can. Take the time. It may require a few hours. It may require a day or two, but sit down and list the things that mean the most to you, what you want to focus on, the things you want going on now, as well as the things you want to go on in the future. And you can make life better as far as making decisions. Remember, better decisions lead to a better life.